Hello everyone and welcome today to today's session on Gandhiji's principles on professionalism. Uh, Sorry friends, I had to mute everybody and other than the admins now nobody will be able to unmute themselves. Sorry for this, just for decorum purposes. We'll be starting today's meeting now. A very good afternoon to all of y'all and it's great to have all of y'all here today with us on today's meeting between Rotary and Rotract. And today's evening is all about Gandhiji's lessons on professionalism. Welcome today, and let us begin with the customary national anthem.
Kind request to you all to kindly please rise for the national anthem. Wherever you are, you can just mute your cameras if you want. Manpreet sir, you are on mute.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Jana Gana Mana Adhinayak Jaya He Bharat
भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध
Gujarat Maratha Dravin Utkal
उत्कल
Ganga
बंग विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना
Yamuna Ganga Utkal Jati
जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ
शुभ नाम
Shima Ke Sab
तव शुभाशिषु बागे गाहे
Gahe Tab
जय गाथा
जनगण
गण मंगलदायक जय हे
Jaya He Bharat
भारत भाग्य
Bhagya
विधाता
Vidhata
जय हे
जय हे
Jaya He
जय
जय
Jaya
हे
He
जय
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 Jaya
जय
Jaya
जय
Jaya
हे
He. Thank you everyone and good evening once again. Today's meeting is all about Gandhiji's lessons on professionalism. And we have today with us our guest speaker, Rotarian Tyagraju, and our Rotary Rotract Chair, Rotarian Savita Chavan. I request Savita ji to please introduce today's guest speaker, Tyagraju ji.
Yes, a very warm evening to you all. Hearty welcome to all the freshers and hearty welcome to the chief speaker of the session, Sir Tyagaraju.
Thank
And
you.
as well as there are many friends from us. I also welcome Dr. Rohan Bartake, who is also a well-wisher of RCMG, has joined us with us right now. I also welcome, yes, the very secretary, because you all should know Manpreet Singh. He is the secretary of our Rotary Club of Mumbai Ghatkopar. All these Rotractors, freshers should know this. So I'm telling them. And each and everybody who has joined with us for today's session, I extend my heartfelt welcome to each and everybody. I would like to tell you that all the Rotaractors, they have joined together to have this program so that there should be seeds of coming together, helping each other and just getting their friendships embedded into their longer relationships, knowing from each other, learning from each other, and also helping to grow together. So this is a joint venture from Rotary Club of Mumbai Ghatkopar. Shumati Piandoshi Women's College, Mumbai Ghatkopar is the leading organizer, and the other two clubs, Raniranjan Junjunwala Rotractors Club, as well as Rotract Club of Mumbai Ghatkopar. These two are the co-hosts for the program. I also welcome Rotractors, their presidents and secretary of all the groups. Now it comes to the introduction of our today's esteemed speaker. There is a great number of points, but I have shortlisted them, and I'll be short in introducing him because his speech, his talk to you will itself reveal that what a kind of personality he is. So I welcome you, sir. Tyagaraju sir here. He is a senior scientific officer in Bhabha Atomic Research Center. All of you, you know BARC, right? So sir is a senior scientific officer there. So we welcome you all here. His specialties are in management in various fields such as engineering, technology, and human resources. He has passion in counseling and mentoring. So mentoring he loves, and I would really like to make a point that he is a mentor for me too. So I have that special privilege of welcoming my mentor for you all to talk to. And he had also one mentoring session with our directors last year. So that memory we are still carrying in our hearts, sir. He had positively influenced at least 100 youngsters by mentoring. That number has drastically gone even higher because 100 is just a number, and people taking inspiration from him are really numerous. In fact, he himself has been mentored by many stalwarts. So, this is his greatness. His interests are in classical music, spirituality, and book writing. Some more introductory points would be like this. He has presented several papers, research papers in instrumentation, engineering, and technology management in several national and international conferences. So here we have our very famous intellectual figure for the day, Tyagaraju sir. I welcome wholeheartedly, sir, and please proceed with the today's session on Gandhiji's lessons for professionalism. I welcome you all.
Thank you. To start with, I thank the club secretary of our Rotary Club, Mr. Manpreet Singh, then a very jubilant Rotaract convener, Professor Savita Chavan, for taking a lead in organizing this and giving a very kind introduction. Her introduction elates me, and also it gives me a challenge of living up to her expectation and her introduction. To start with, I would request, as a beginning exercise, I would request all the participants to close your eyes for a minute. Then after closing your eyes, please take deep breath, slow breathing. Please relax yourself. Imagine a white light is falling on your face. Imagine the white light falling on your face is spreading all over your body. As you breathe in, imagine all the goodness of the universe is entering you. As you breathe out, imagine all the undesirables are being flushed out. Your body is relaxing. Your mind is relaxing. Gently rub your eyes and open your eyes. Dear friends, I am sharing my screen. Okay, let us start now. The topic of the day is Gandhiji's lessons on professionalism. Before we actually start onto the topic, I would like to give a brief idea on my own association with Mahatma Gandhi. Now, association with a giant figure like Mahatma Gandhi happens in multiple ways. Some people study Mahatma Gandhi from historian angle. Historian angle, I stand nowhere because I am not a professional historian, nor I studied Gandhiji from history angle. So, if you expect some events with dates and the sequence of various events from historical angle, I may not be the right person. But I've been at Gandhiji's literature as well as his thought processes from the angle of the way he was thinking and solving problems. How I came across Gandhiji is, to start with, maybe some 12 years back, 15 years back, I came across a book by Romain Rolland. I was very much impressed by that. In fact, I bought that book when I visited Gandhiji's ashram, Sabarmati ashram at Gujarat. Then, incidentally, I found in our library of Bhabha Atomic Research Center, there has been a set of 98 volumes of collected works of Mahatma Gandhi. Now, dear friends, the number is 98. It's a whopping big number. It is perhaps the highest of any single human being's output. So 98 volumes are available in our library. What I used to do is, whenever I visited library, at least for 10-15 minutes, I used to sit with these books. Almost like once in a week or once in 10 days, I used to visit those volumes. I used to pick a volume at random. There was no specific sequence for me because it was an ocean. So taking a glass of water from an ocean, do you make any calculations? No, you simply pick up at random. So what I used to do was, suppose it was 19th date, I used to pick up volume number 19. Or some logic I used to apply, and I used to pick up a volume at random. And again, I used to pick up an article at random. Then I used to enjoy the way he used to address the people, the way he used to write letters, the way he used to solve problems. Then this went on for a few years. After many years were over, then I started, instead of simply reading and forgetting, better I should take notes from that. Then I kept a notebook only for this purpose. So I started writing notes from that. But the number of years which was spent without writing notes is higher than the number of years after which I started writing notes. I regret to an extent for that. So in any case, the more I came closer to Gandhiji's way of working, the more I became his fan, and I tried to implement some of his methods into my own ways of life. I'll give 1-2 examples in the due course of our talk now. Then, now to start with, we will see what is the difference between professional and professionalism. See, professional is different. Professionalism is different from that because one can have professionalism even without being a professional. Suppose my mother, she was not a professional in any field, but she had professionalism in whatever she did. I'm showing a picture of a girl cooking. So she has got a professionalism in cooking. She kept a laptop opposite to her. She is seeing the recipe. She is trying to understand the recipe in a very systematic manner. She is trying to prepare a food. So here there is professionalism, independent of whether she is a real professional in any field or not. Now, this ism word, this ism suffix has become too common, and it has become somewhat boring. You know, Hinduism, Islamism, Buddhism, Jainism, everywhere there is ism. Then I felt instead of using ism, whether I can use any equivalent word which is more novel. Then I thought professionalness is a better word. So professionalness means being like a professional, but whether or not we are actual professional. That is called professionalism. Now, professionalism of Mahatma Gandhi, when you say, he himself was a professional for only a few years. He was a professional lawyer for, in the initial beginning, something like 5-6 years. Later on, he became a full-time public leader. As a public leader, he was, of course, he had professionalism. Those are the features which we have to see now, and we can incorporate into our own way of life, both in our own profession as well as in our non-profession. Okay. Now, when you go ahead, as a professional, he used to look like this. He had his own office, legal office. He used to earn enough in South Africa. He used to give salaries to his staff. So this is the photograph with his staff members. So Gandhiji as a professional, when he became a full-time leader in 1918, this photograph is of 1918. He became a full-time leader from 1894 onwards. In 1893, he joined as an attorney in South Africa under a firm of Abdullah Sheikh. But then after 1 year, he almost in a natural way, he was drawn into a leadership to support the Indian underprivileged class of people working in South Africa. But after coming back in 1915, after a few years, when he became again a full-time leader in India, this photograph is of that time. Now, what are some good features of a professional? What is that we can draw from Gandhiji's life? See, there are two approaches to study this. One is make a list of all the features of Gandhiji and try to pick up which of those features belong to a professional. That is one approach. But that approach is very long drawing because Gandhiji had many features. It's a dictionary of features, you can say. So picking up professional features from his personal features is a very arduous task, not so easy. Then I resorted to opposite methodology or opposite to idea or opposite method, where list out the methods of list out the features of an ideal professional and see how Gandhiji had implemented these things. So this is more doable. So I thought I will list these desirable features of a good professional. Out of these things, in the books which you find in HR are quite different from what I have listed here, because these features are uniquely related to Gandhiji. Or maybe some of these might overlap with certain HR books describing good professionals. But this list is basically in respect of Gandhiji, in reference to Gandhiji. The first one is intensity of life. And Gandhiji has been a living example for intensity of life. How to know, how to understand about the intensity of life, how to get the evidence of intensity of life. I did a very simple thing for this. Again, going to collected works of Mahatma Gandhi, pick up a volume at random. All these volumes have been written in chronological order, date-wise. So pick up a particular date, say 16th March 1938. On 16th March 1938, what were the activities? To whom all he wrote letters, which all letters he received, where all he gave speeches. If you take a list, certain such at random, when you pick up those dates, I found there were 25 activities in one day. On an average, maybe in certain days there were 15 activities, and certain other days you might have had, or you can see something like 30 activities also. But the number of activities is very large per day. This is record-breaking activity. In my over 30 years of experience, when I was adopting this list of jobs, practically my list of jobs were never more than 10 or 15 in my professional life. Even though I had to be an active member of plant, still my list of jobs, both household as well as official together, it would not reach 15. And his list of jobs did not contain household jobs. So such a huge number of jobs per day, that is called intensity of life. So what we can learn from him is make a long list of jobs per day and try to fulfill them. That's how you can do more jobs per day and you can raise the intensity of life. And there's another principle called quantity brings quality. This is related to the first one, intensity of life. When you do more quantity of work, it is very likely that a good number of works will be successful, because inevitably a few works will not be successful. It is not the percentage which is important. What makes you feel happy is the number of good works which you do. So when you make a long list of jobs, try to fulfill them. If you are successful in a reasonable number of jobs, you will get a feeling of fulfillment of your life. Another important feature which he had is to think differently. Any problem when it comes to him, he used to think in a very unconventional manner. So think differently or think unconventionally is a very important thing. For example, I'll tell you one instance where thinking unconventionally works. In the year 1934, he chose to retire himself from Congress. I should not say Congress party, because the meaning of party has been different at that time as compared to now. So from the Congress organization, which was working towards freedom struggle, he wanted to retire. Reason, he had his reason. There were many young people entering. Of course, he only entered all those people. He entered even underprivileged people. He brought in all varieties of people into Congress. Even unexpected people he brought into Congress. Then he found that many people were liking the concept of socialism, whereas Gandhi himself was a fan of capitalism rather than socialism. This is very surprising, because India for centuries or for thousands of years has been socialist by nature. Socialist by nature means, to tell you in 1-2 sentences, if you take our old stories of kings, a king used to take care of the subjects or the people like his own children. This is what we frequently hear about our historical figures, historical kings. So this is socialism, like how a father takes care of all the children equally, whether they do more work or less work, he feeds them equally. So kings, good kings used to do that. So that had gone into the blood of Indians. So Indians were basically socialist. And in recent times, while Nehru, Subhash Bose, then Sardar Patel and all in those days, active leaders, younger leaders as compared to Mahatma Gandhi, they were attracted to socialism of Russia. So they used to think Russia is becoming very powerful, socialism is very good, and but Gandhiji was a capitalist. He used to say, work hard and earn money. There's no limit for earning money, but you should work hard. Don't expect free food. This was the principle which Mahatma Gandhi used to teach, because he realized giving free food for both privileged and underprivileged population is no good. This is what we learned. This is a hard lesson we learned over hundreds of years. Then he realized capitalism is the best. Even by stitching slippers, for example, a cobbler also, if he stitches more shoes or slippers, let him earn huge money. There's nothing wrong in it. The work is good enough, but there should be money for every work. And every pie should come out from certain work rather than from the mercy of the king or the owner of a unit or any such or any such setup. So he was a capitalist in his principles. Then he found many active socialists or many young people in the Congress organization are showing interest in socialism. So if he talks against it, it will be discouraging them. He did not want to discourage them. He wanted them to be active. At the same time, he wanted to take a step out from it, and then he had other objectives also, because freedom movement was only one of his objectives. He had other three objectives which were equally important for him. That is to create an equality across all castes, to create equality among all religions, and to create the basis for economic growth across the villages and across the common population. So these three objectives were as much important for him as freedom struggle. Then he thought, let him take a step out and focus on other important areas. Then, of course, Sardar Patel had convinced him to continue a little more. So he accepted his suggestion. He continued a little more. Then he more or less decided to retire from the organization. Somewhere in 34, between 34 and 38, this retirement happened. Then people started talking. Now Congress will become weak. Everyone started thinking like this. Even Viceroy, the British representative in India, he used to think, now Gandhi is retiring, so freedom struggle, it gets weakened. Then he used to say, no, freedom struggle is not going to get weakened. This is where unconventional thinking comes. He told, I'm strengthening the Congress by walking a little away from it. It will become more strength, and now we are more sure that we will attain freedom. So this is the new kind of thinking. He showed the ways how to strengthen Congress in his absence. He strengthened Congress in his presence. That is one aspect. Strengthening the same organization in his absence is another great aspect. This is an unconventional thing. Now, I will give one example from my own life, because talking only from books is not fair. I'm supposed to give at least one or two examples from my own experience. So briefly, I will touch upon one example. In our residential colony, there has been an association, and I was the secretary for the association. And this association has 4 parts, because 4 colonies were there. 4 colonies were combined, there was one association. I found some people showing a little more activity, then seeing others very active and seeing others coming forward towards activity, I slightly relaxed myself. Then those became more active. Then ultimately 4 organizations were formed. Each compound, it formed its own organization. Then people started criticizing me. You are relaxing, you are not doing anything. See, now association is divided. Now 4 associations have formed. I heard all the comments. In the annual day, I spoke and I told them. When the common association was active, we were 3 active members, that is president, secretary, and treasurer. Now there are 4 organizations which are formed separately. Each organization has got its own president, secretary, and treasurer. So 4 into 3, there are 12. Original organization, 3 organizing members are already here. So 12 plus 3, 15. So now our activities have been multiplied by 5. So organization is not divided, organization is multiplied. So this is the way when you think in a differently, you can draw a lot of advantages of whatever things that happen. So this is one thing. It's one example of thinking differently and thinking advantageously. Thinkingly but advantageously, that's important. Thinkingly and disadvantageously is not important, is not useful. Now, giving all reasons which you can, this is a very important thing. This I like very much. All young professionals, all the students of Professor Savita who are going to become professionals within a few years should learn this. Give all reasons which you can for a given proposal. Suppose you go and tell your boss that, sir, I'm proposing this work. I want to do this. What is your opinion? As a first response, he may say, no, don't take it now. We'll see later. No, these could be the common responses. Then you may come back with lot of resentment. You will sit with your friend and keep on blaming your boss. Arey yaar, he does not agree. He's not seeing the advantage which I am seeing. Yes, yaar. Your friend also will start giving 2-3 more advantages of your proposal. All these advantages, why your boss is not able to see? He's such a stupid. So this is the way you keep exchanging resentment over a senior person. But all these reasons which you are talking behind him, did you express to him when you proposed? That is important. You must have given 2 reasons, and those 2 reasons were not quite appealing to him at that moment. He asked you to postpone. He did not even cancel it. You got angry only because he did not show much interest and give you a green signal right away. But then here what we can learn from Gandhiji is, even at the first proposal, give all the reasons which you can. I'll show some examples as we go ahead onto this. Then other one is, dare to spell out your views in most polite manner. This you can see in some of his letters. Then flexibility. Don't hold on to one principle or one policy, even if that principle is the brainchild of yours. Be flexible. It will fetch you a lot of benefits, because we don't know what is in store. What is the God's plan? We don't know. So we have to be flexible. God helps only flexible people, not the people who are obstinate. Then listen to your conscience. Flexibility and conscience are related. Listening to your conscience, you can shift your policy. You can change yourself, then God will easily pick you for a better job. Now let us see some examples. Here on vegetarianism, he wrote a letter to an editor of a journal called The Vegetarian. But that editor has not been a member of this of a society called London Vegetarian Society. So Mahatma Gandhi tried to convince him. You know, when he wrote this, he was around 24 years, around 24, 25 years. So he did not simply request him, you please join London Vegetarian Society because you are the editor of The Vegetarian. It's quite natural if you become a member. He did not leave it with only 1 or 2 reasons. He gave something like 7 reasons. Here 5 reasons are shown.
Hello, sir. Kindly please unmute yourself. You are on mute, technically.
Yes, thank you, Professor Savita. Now, it is about now another letter I'm showing as an example. Here he gave, even this letter is to an editor of the Natal Mercury. you see the language here, and he's talking about esoteric Christian union. See, you have to see one point, very interesting point is some of his friends in London, they tried to convince him into Christianity. On their basis, Bible, but then he did not succumb to conversion. He told, I appreciate Jesus, I appreciate Bible, but my Hinduism is good enough, I will not convert. So he did not convert, but at the same time, he was not obstinate. He was still very sympathetic to the Christian.
I'm sorry to
हाँ
interrupt.
चलिए
Manpreet sir,
एक बार वो क्लियर हो जाएगा ना
please,
हाँ तो उसमें जो मिसिंग है मेरे को फोन कर देना मैं बता दूँ क्योंकि
Manpreet
क्या है,
sir,
मैंने साथ में बैठ के
Now
पूरी
there
बना
is
दी
something called esoteric Christian union. He joined that union in support of it, but why he joined is very important. He found that union, that Christian union, to be and all the features of a good secular religion he had listed in this, and on that basis he joined hands with them, he supported them, he supported people of altogether different religion, provided that religion adheres to principles of secularism and principles of universal brotherhood. So all those things he has listed in this letter, and this is a good example of not only creating good thoughts but drafting a good letter. Then as we go ahead, now see his courage. He has written an open letter to the members of Legislative Council in South Africa for the cause of Indians in Indians in South Africa. He did not leave any stone unturned for the mission he has taken up or for the cause he has taken up. He used to write a letter to Viceroy, he used to write letters to honorary members of Legislative Council, and he actually gave open letter to every British citizen in South Africa in that area for a certain cause which he was fighting. So he had unusual methods of seeking what he needed for the public good. His thinking was not just linear. Ask the big boss once, ask the big boss twice, thrice. If it does not happen, retire from the situation. No. You ask the big boss, you ask big boss's wife also. You ask big boss's children. You ask big boss's brother. I'm just joking, but this is the way he used to do. In all angles, he used to try. In different ways, he used to try. He used to convince from 360 degrees, not simply one angle. That is the way he used to do. But whatever be the step which he has taken, the language was extremely polished, convincing, and very decent. This is one thing which every professional should learn from Mahatma Gandhi. Wait. Now, so these are a few things. Then, he was daring to think anything which is different from what is the norm of a youth when he was young. This was in 1894, when he was 25-year-old man. He was very much interested about God, understanding God. Now you think about yourselves, all the young students. Do you dare to talk about God with your friends? We always have an apprehension that if we talk about God, our friends may laugh. Why are you talking what your grandmother is supposed to talk? But Gandhi did not have that. At the age of 25, when he was about to start his very powerful life ahead, he had these questions in mind, very rational questions. He was not a blind believer. The believer word is itself, he was not believing. He was asking the questions, like fundamental questions. What is the soul? What is God? What is moksha? Is it possible for a person to know for certain while he is still living whether or not he will attain moksha? What is Arya Dharma? whether everything belongs to Hinduism is written in Vedas. All these fundamental questions he asked at very young age. He used to dare to think about the problems and issues which his own peers could not dare. That is what I appeal to all the youngsters to do that. Don't get scared of what others will think. What occurs to you, express. What occurs to you, think. You seek answers. Then you will be a unique individual of your kind because God makes everyone differently. When you have to be on your own, when you want to grow as a unique individual in your own style, you have to dare to think in your own way. And you should not get put off by the peer pressure. This peer pressure is very important. Huh? So this is what we should learn from Mahatma Gandhi. Don't succumb to peer pressure. You can pick up some good qualities from your peer mates, but should not get succumbed to peer pressure. Then anything else, if we have to see, okay, we have seen these points. As per suggestion of Professor Savita, Madam, I'm supposed to leave more time for questions and answers. Now, this is the background, you can say, whatever I gave out to you. Out of an ocean of what Gandhiji is, we are taking one spoon of water in a limited time. So these are the things. Now, based on this, or even not based on these points which we covered, any questions about Gandhiji are most welcome.
Okay. First of all, a big thank you to our dear Tyagaraja sir for enlightening us with many aspects of Gandhiji's life, the man, the father of the nation, whom we just know like celebrating the birth anniversary and the death anniversary. Apart from that, as a man, as a global human being, how Gandhiji is so much influential on all walks of life. And it's just not about the freedom fight or the freedom struggle, but actually being a very, very good and great kind of human being. How we can take notes as well as how we can relate that to our own professionalism, which is the demand of the day. So a big thank you to you, sir, for enlightening. And now I ask to my dear students and all the participants to ask their questions if they have any. We can start one by one. Kindly please unmute yourselves and ask the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Savitaji.
Yes,
Yes,
students,
Roli, I think.
participants, yeah. I think they have muted all of them. And
I think Manpreet
yeah,
ji.
yeah, participants, are you able to unmute yourselves? I think they are.
Yes, ma'am.
They can unmute themselves. They've already come.
Okay, fine, fine. Sally Sharma, do you want to ask your question?
No, madam.
Okay, retractors. Unmute yourselves. Are you?
May I ask on behalf of the retractors to start with so that they will come up.
Okay, okay, sir. There is a list of questions that when we were thinking on this, I already had given those things so that students they started thinking on before 2-3 days before we
Sure.
actually have the session today. So there is a list
Nice.
of questions that my students already have and they are intending to ask it to you. So here I'll go. Just a minute.
Yeah.
sir. The first question that is from Bhakti. I hope she is not able to unmute herself, but they have already submitted the question. So this is really one nice management that we had done. First question by Bhakti Damle from RCS PNT Group.
Okay.
Question says like this: at what age Mahatma Gandhi started working for public cause?
Okay. In the year 1893 itself, he started while he was working for Abdullah Sheikh's company. Here I will give two answers for one question because it's also related to another important point for professionals. In 1890, he joined Abdullah Sheikh company at the age of 24. Actually, here what we should learn is, though he was a lawyer by qualification, his job was basically a job of a clerk. He did not get the job of a lawyer. Abdullah Sheikh had his own lawyers, European lawyers, but then Gandhiji was acting as a clerk only for a very nominal salary. So Gandhiji did not deny that. He did not say, office, I'm a lawyer, highly qualified lawyer, give me the job of a clerk. He did not ask that. He took the job. This is what we should learn from Gandhiji, that whatever job comes to you at the first instance, take it. Whether it is good or not, whether it provides job satisfaction or not, whether it's professionally prestigious or not, whether it gives or whether it is lucrative or not. Better to take the first what comes, because in that there's a lot of story in it. So at the age of 24, he joined, but while working for Abdullah Sheikh, he was also trying to help some of the Indian Dalits of South Africa. So, but after his contract was only for 1 year. In the following year, he became a full-time leader. At the age of 25, you can say he became a full-time leader. And very accidentally he became. Actually, after finishing his tenure, he was to come back. On the day of his coming back, when he was about to take the ship, on that day, many people came to his place to see him off. And suddenly somebody told, why don't you stay back? Then he stayed back. He stayed back for 21 years. That's the greatness. Okay, so at the age of 24 or 25, he started as a leader. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I hope this answers the question by Bhakti. Retractors, are you able to unmute yourselves? If not, kindly please put your questions in the chat box. By the time I'm posing you question number 2 by Vaishali. The question is, what was the special situation in South Africa that made him a full-time public worker?
A part of this I answered. Actually, in South Africa, firstly, Indians were not seen with any good respect by Europeans. And Indian Dalits were all the more treated very badly. So they were not given voting rights. Initially, he started working for voting rights. So he was working just as a part-time to support them. Slowly, he has taken more other causes also. So cause after cause he started taking. And, it was just a hobby activity for him. He completed his work called there. Then everybody started requesting to stay back, and his boss also told him, see, when so many people are requesting you, better stay back for a few more months. But then he continued for 21 years. So it was a very unexpected situation in which he became a very powerful leader. Just he became a leader, you can say. Just a small decision. He said he should travel. Then was an interesting thing. Yes, madam. Next question.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Now, I think the technical support has made us available so that other students, they can unmute themselves and ask their questions. I would like participant students who are having their questions, kindly please pose your question. I think Smita Jaiswar, do you have a question? Yes. Okay. Maybe she's not
Hi.
able to talk. Okay. Yeah, she's there. Yeah, please.
Hi. Good evening, sir. Can
Hello,
I ask question?
good evening. Akanksha,
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Can I ask question?
welcome.
Sir, did Gandhiji work for any object other than getting freedom from British? Gandhiji?
Work for other cause and working for struggle. Is it the question, Akanksha?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
He,
See, he
she's
had
asking, yeah,
four
apart from freedom.
causes to work for. Freedom struggle was not the main thing. In fact, when he started in South Africa, there also freedom struggle was not his main objective. His objective was to raise the dignity level of the common people. Especially in South Africa, it was underprivileged Indians were the main were the main subject for him. 50,000 people were there to whom he supported. And coming back to India, again his objective was to raise the spirit of common man, to teach a common man in a hutmate as to what is the freedom, what is the disadvantage, in fact, who is ruling at the top. In fact, many Indians did not know who was the main ruler. Because for many of the village folks, their Sarpanch was the king. So they used to think Sarpanch ही एक राजा है. They never used to think Britishers are ruling. And what was the disadvantage if Britishers were ruling? That all those things they did not know. So he educated them. And he educated them to work for money. Many of them used to work as servants free of charge for only 2 meals a day, 3 meals a day. He taught them how to work for money, how to be dignified, how to do counting, how to do arithmetic, how to be clean. In fact, the main reason for untouchability is what? It's uncleanliness, untidiness. That was the main reason. He told, if untouchability has to go first, you become touchable. Means clean. So he taught them how to be clean. So he wanted an average Indian to rise above their own level. That was one of the reasons, one of the main causes for which he worked. Then when from every corner of India, people are demanding freedom, naturally Britishers have to pack their bags. That was his main method. Second one was to create a unity across religions. Then another one was,
Yes.
it is linked with the first one, that is to raise the economy of a common India. These were all the equally important causes for him to work for. Okay. Okay, Akanksha. Done.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. There is a question by Smita Jaiswar who could not unmute herself. The
Okay.
question is written here in the chat box. I'm reading it for you, sir.
Yeah.
What were the special qualities he possessed as a young leader in South Africa?
All these what we listed, in fact, those are all the qualities. Again, to answer your question, I will briefly list out his politeness, his courage. He was courageous to even oppose his bosses. The best leaders, not only bosses, the top leaders, he had courage to oppose, but all opposition he did in the most polite language. That was his quality. And he used to give reasoning in 10 ways. Again, if you don't mind, I will give one example from my own life. There was a project for which we were making a project proposal. Our guideline was don't ask for manpower. That was a guideline. But I broke that guideline. I told my team members, I was chairing that team. I told my members, we will ask for manpower. But the director of BRC is telling not to ask for manpower. But I told, no, we will ask because I have reasons. I gave a page of reasons. It should not be too many pages also. One page of some 6-7 reasons I gave why we need manpower. My boss simply read from starting to end. She told, go ahead and ask for manpower. These are the things. You should give more reasons, not simply 1-2 reasons. Then they will get convinced. But dare to ask. That's also important. These are a few important qualities: politeness, daringness, giving multiple reasons, convince yourself and then convince others. Work for public good, not for yourself. See, asking for manpower for good of the organization. So that this is very important. You should not ask for your own ice cream. You ask for ice creams for 100 students. That's important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. I hope this answers Smita Jaiswal's question. I would just, as a suggestion, I would like to request, sir, if you stop sharing your screen so that the whole room would be visible and we all would feel ourselves on the same front.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you so much, sir.
Nice. Thank you, Savita. Such a lively session you have created.
I really request all the participant students to kindly just on their cameras. It would be a great thing to have you all there on this virtual background with us right now.
Then last two screens I'm yet to show. Check. Okay, Savita, shall I?
Okay. All right, sir. If you can, if you wish, we have to also consider the time factor. It's already 5-2.
Out of
And
those
of
two,
course, if you can get it done in
one
a
is
short
only
span.
anyway, we'll drop that idea.
Otherwise, no, sir, you please go ahead. We would like to see your slides. I thought you have done with it since we had started with our question answer session. But
Oh,
if
yeah,
you wish
sorry.
to share, we'll definitely, since
Sure,
you have really taken the gist of the matter, we'd really like to have those slides. Kindly please go ahead with it, sir.
Okay.
Again, we can meet on the room.
About purification, the past president, Mr. Ramesh Mistry, he has these things to say, which echoes Mahatma Gandhi's ideas. Body gets purified by water and exercise. Then mind gets purified by meditation. Intellect gets purified by knowledge. Ego gets purified by service. Food gets purified by positive thoughts while cooking. Feelings get purified by love. I think these are all very much applicable to young students. Of course, applicable to me too. Then one is, thank you all, Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Thank you all. This is the last slide.
Thank you very much, sir. And we're happy that we did not miss those 2 slides.
Oh, nice.
Which will cherish everybody. I would really love to have, if there are some more questions, since the list is too long. And students, kindly please unmute yourselves and ask your questions if you want. Otherwise, put it in the text box, check box. We need to check the chat box for this. Okay. Anusha Nair. Okay, Anusha. Anusha is asking if she can ask the question in the chat box. Since she is at her workplace, she's not able to talk. Yes, Anusha, please go ahead. Kindly write your question. Before Anusha's question, can we just pick up one question which is already posted there, sir, with your due permission?
I'm not able to see. What was the reason for choosing the?
Yes.
Okay. What was the reason for choosing the path of non-violence?
Hmm.
This is a very important question. This I request all the students to pay attention to listen. See, firstly, throughout history, violence was the method by which people used to acquire what they needed. Correct? Violence was the method throughout history. Only like in our own country, where Ram as well as Yudhishthir, even those people fought wars, still they gave enough chance for dialogue. That's called Rayabharam, they say. So they gave enough chance for dialogue, and only if the dialogues failed, they resorted to war. But war was done. But it was Mahatma Gandhi who started non-violent struggle. He wanted to try a new idea now, which is different from what was resorted to by all the people in the history till now, particularly because Indians never succeeded in violence against British. He had clear example of Lakshmi Bai. It was not possible because Britishers were doing divide and rule. They were dividing us across castes, they were dividing us across religions, they were dividing us across kingdoms. Not that they were only at fault, we were also at fault. We were also divided on our own. So, in this divisive situation, it is difficult to have a violent fight against the British because they have machinery, they had technology of war. We did not have. So it was very clear that violent struggle does not create results. Number two is all the violent leaders, the great leaders, we salute them, but then they could not live long due to their own methods. No violent leader was successful in sustaining for more than 2 years. So sustenance is very difficult with violent struggle. The leaders die very fast in violent struggle. Whereas with non-violence, Mahatma Gandhi stayed for 30 years. Then other reason is he wanted to muster support from the masses, from the people, from unexpected people. He used to draw support. He used to bring people onto roads towards freedom struggle. That was possible only by non-violence. For example, any girl here, for example, Akanksha is there. For a good cause, if he wants to come and fight, but if the leader takes up a violent fight, Akanksha's parents would say, no, no, you don't go, sit here only. But if the fight is non-violent, the parents would agree. So many ladies, many girls also had followed Gandhiji along with his which is freedom movement. Many, all the youngsters, the parents have actually who will go and follow him. This was very important thing. So these are 2 or 3 reasons why he took up non-violent method. Okay, is it fine?
Yes, sir. There is one more question. I don't know the person because he or she has not put the name, but the question is, what is non-violence? What is
What is
non-violence?
violence? Okay, as per Gandhiji, if you take, even scolding is violence. Scolding. So, so please note this, Savita madam.
I have not,
Scolding is
I
also
don't have to
violence.
scold them.
You are not. I'm sure you are a very, very nice teacher. You are a best professor. I'm 100% sure. So violence is even man ko dukhi karna bhi violence है. That's the thing. Not only taking a gun or stick, man ko bhi dukhi kiya to it is violence. Hmm. Okay.
Okay. So one more interesting question by one of the students. They are asking why Gandhiji did not become. Why did Gandhiji not choose to become a prime minister or president himself?
Excellent. Suppose he became, you yourself would say, this man struggled for 30 years through denied position for him. He could have easily chosen it is any one of these positions.
Hello, sir.
One reason he
Yeah.
did not take, and that too, he was 79-year-old, but age was not the factor. Main reason is this. Sorry. Yes. He wanted to practically show that he won freedom for the country, not for himself.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And the last question I would like to ask from the set of the questions which students have already given. And yeah, Rotarian Bhakti Damle. Yeah, I think her question was already posed by me. And yeah, the last one. What was Gandhiji's speciality that many leaders gave much importance to his opinions? Why his
This
opinions
is a
were
very
valued?
important question. Yeah, they see, for your kind information, he retired from Congress, which we mentioned a little while ago. Even after he retired from Congress, he was not even a regular member of Congress. Every decision in Congress happened with his permission, with his nod, with his okay. Everything was consulted to him. This is a very interesting thing. See, nobody told he's not a president or secretary, so we will not consult him. No, he was consulted for each and everything for two reasons. One reason is he was able to think out of the box and give better ideas to them. Is one reason. Other reason is he struggled more than necessary. He put more than necessary effort to make success of any decision taken. So he took it as a personal responsibility to make it as a success. More important reason is he brought highest amount of donations. This is very important. He was able to collect donations more easily than any other person. He had a money power. Not that he gave from his pocket. He got money from lakhs of pockets and then he brought into Congress. So that kind of strength he has got. So these are important reasons for the importance he earned in the Congress organization. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
From this, what you understand, you and me can learn. If you are a good earner, you will gain more respect, either in house or anywhere. If you are a good resourceful person in the office, you will be respected. If you are a good earner plus resourceful person at home, you will be respected more. So you should be resourceful. So Gandhiji was extremely highly resourceful man. Okay.
Yeah, great, sir. Thank you very much. I request, shall we stop with the question answer sessions, or if anybody has any question, kindly please put it here.
Yes.
Participant students, unmute yourself.
Courageous. I'm finding students not being courageous. Madam talking on behalf of students.
And the other, some of them just couldn't unmute themselves. They put it on the chat box. That's
Okay.
also good if they wish so. Otherwise, considering the time factor, we'll have to stop with the question answer session. And I'm sure students have definitely got the overview of the whole talk and Gandhiji as a human being beyond considered, beyond the struggle, the freedom struggle actually, with which we just have that limited view of Gandhiji. He is to be studied more for more aspects apart from that too. And the world really looks at him to be a global leader. The
Excellent.
whole East and the whole West, as well as they are thinking that he is the man, and there are so many things to be learned, and that's why today's lecture happening for professionals. With this, I end up with the question answer session, and now heading towards the last part of it, I request our honorable secretary of Rotary Club of Mumbai Ghatkopar to kindly put his vote of thanks.
Before
Manpreet,
Mr. Mantri takes, his word has to be last from the Rotary Club as a club secretary. From my side, I would like to thank firstly Professor Savita for actually organizing this, coordinating this with great zest and zeal. Then
My
I
pleasure.
thank the club secretary and the club president to actually support this activity. And I thank each and every student, each and every participant who were with this program. I thank them all. I thank each and every part. Thank you. Over to the club secretary, Mr. Manpreet Singh.
Manpreet ji, are you there? I doubt. Let me just check. Kindly please wait. Give me just a minute.
मुझे वो लिंक भेजना और वो मैम को बोल मुझे ऐड करने वो नंबर पे.
Hello. On having a short talk to him, Manpreet ji has just logged out with the system just because of some technical problems. He's very much there, but he is not able to visualize the screen, the whole room, and he's not able to give the audio assistance as well. So, on behalf of him,
Yes.
I'll be again putting forth the cordial vote of thanks.
Oh,
So from the whole club, the president of Rotary Club of Mumbai Ghatkopar, the secretary himself of Rotary Club of Mumbai Ghatkopar, and all the members of Rotary Club of Mumbai Ghatkopar, as well as from all the Rotaractors groups like Ramniranjan Junjunwala College, as well as Rotaract Club of Mumbai Ghatkopar, as well as the Rotaract Club of Srimati P.N. Doshi Women's College. The very management and principal of Srimati P.N. Doshi Women's College. I extend my hearty thanks to our today's speaker for the session, Tyagaraju Sarji, for his wonderful, insightful session and deliberations on knowing Gandhiji as a person beyond the freedom struggle and giving us the fine drops of wisdom in terms of professionalism. I'm sure all the students, all the participants would keep all these facts on their minds when they will step outside and be a professional in across various fields where they are supposed to be, where they are destined to deliver their duties for getting this mankind better for their each every aspect and each every short endeavor. So a big thank you to the speaker, as well as a big thank you to all the participants and the students here joining with us for such a long time, putting forth their efforts to know how Gandhiji and professionalism is connected. All the students who posed their questions, wrote their questions on the chat box, tried but couldn't unmute themselves. I must say sorry. I'm feeling regretful because the system did not support them. But yes, you are very much there. And I assure that whenever possible, Tyagaraju sir, you will be always asked. You are always welcome to guide all of them. So we're looking forward for the next sessions with you.
thank you.
It has always been a great pleasure to have you here on this
Thank you.
trip. So I'm sure we'll be having very great
Thank you,
memories
Shirley.
with you. And on this session, at the end, I would request all of you, the participants and students, to kindly please pick up any of the works on Mahatma Gandhi and kindly please start reading. And you will get to know what a man can do, how to have a broader aspect of life, which can really make you different. So yeah, on this note, I take your leave. Again, a big thank you to you all. Kindly stay connected and looking forward for many more sessions like this to enlighten our wisdom and have a broader outlook of life.
Thank you, Savita madam.
Thank you so much, sir. So here we'll take a part. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe, stay connected, stay happy. Bye-bye.
Bye.